Okay, the Dixon Historical Society is delighted to have John Fong's oldest son, Carl Fong, speak about his memories of when his family owned Pardi Market. Joining him is his brother Carlton Fong, his sister-in-law Cindy Fong, sister Darlene Fong Young from the Bay Area, and his oldest son Christian Fong right here. And we have other family members in the back, so I'll have Carl introduce you personally. We want to thank Carl for traveling all the way from Los Angeles to be here today, so this is very, very special. And we also want to thank the Stacy family, who are part of the Pardi family, who were the first owners of Pardi Market. And we'd like to thank you for being here as well to represent the Pardi family. So without further ado, we'll have Carl share his memories with all of you. Okay.
Thank you for attending this little gathering, what I like to call, about the history of Pardi Market, because there's a whole history that I didn't know about and that I had to do some research on, which may surprise you folks, a little bit my dad. I also have my uncle, who was there, Uncle Bing Lee, who was there before I got there. And then in the back, I have the Nishikawa, I believe, right? Or did I get that wrong? Okay, yeah, part of the Nishikawa family. And then I have my cousin, Jeannie. You can read, yeah. No, who is actually my dad's older sister, his daughter. And then I have Raymond, who's my dad's oldest sister, who's number 2 son. Did I get that right? Okay. From Seattle. So the history of the Fong family is gonna, I'm getting old myself, so I forget a lot of stuff. But I want to give you guys a little bit of history of what Pardi Market was. And I want to give thanks to the Stacy family and the George Pardi. So the reason if I go to the slides, next slide. That is our great-grandpa right there, which I don't even know his name. But that's his little house that he kind of sat in there in the village. And then we have my grandpa, who, born and died kind of thing, which is my dad's dad. And then we have my grandma. These little kids is actually me and my older sister, Helen. And that's our car. Next slide. This is how the Fong family started from what I remember. If I'm wrong, I have my cousins back there who can back me up on this. But we have William Fong, who's my dad's oldest brother. He's the number 1 son. Then we have Marion Lee, who was a sister, which is Raymond's mother. And then we have Margaret Louie, which is Jeannie's mom. And then we have my dad. Now with my dad, next slide, he was the youngest of 4 children. He married our mom. Now these are the pictures I could find back then, right? Because back in the days, in the 50s and 60s, they really didn't take that many pictures. So these are the ones I could find. How my dad met my mom was kind of interesting. We all have social media now, and we have dating apps. Back then, the dating app was, here's a picture of the person you're going to go meet back in Hong Kong, China, and then that's the person you're marrying. That's how he met my mom, right? So they got married in 1958 sometime, and from what my mom tells me, what she can remember, because she's 85 now, is that she came over here in December of 58, but she had to get a doctor's note because she was in her 2nd trimester with me. So, next slide. When we came here in 1958, this is me in 1959. And we actually lived on 555 Sierra Drive. So when I lived there, that's me when I was a little kid, I actually went to kindergarten in Sylviaville Elementary School. And then came the Brady, not the Brady Bunch, but the Bunch, which is the rest of my siblings. My dad got started and he didn't want to stop. He kept going along the way. Because there's actually 3 boys, 3 girls, just like the Brady song, right? You have, this guy met them, but we're all 1 year apart. Whereas my sister and I are almost less than a year apart. So that's how we got started. Next slide. So something happened. My dad delivered my sister 1 block away from the hospital, which I didn't know until I went and looked at it myself. So my dad delivered her 1 block from the hospital in Sacramento, Sutter Hospital, I think it was, right, Jeannie? I didn't know that because he was a medic in the Army. So next slide. And that's us. That's my sister. And then now he has this. His legacy has left 14 grandchildren with 6 kids, and they're still growing. I mean, half of them I don't see because I live down south. Thank God, because I can't. The family rivalry is killing me sometimes. But there's 6 kids with their spouses, and then 2 kids, some had 3. Like my youngest sister has 3 siblings. So you imagine how big that family is in the Christmas party. We almost can't fit in a picture anymore, right? Next slide. And then sadly, my dad passed away on December 18th, 1997. So unfortunately, I did not make it up here. I was on my way. At the top of the grapevine, my brother called me and said Dad had just passed. So, next slide. So then why Dixon? Because everybody wants to know why we live in Dixon. From what I know, my dad worked at various odd jobs. He worked in a restaurant as a cook, right, Uncle Bing? Yeah, that's how I learned to cook. And then he went to the military. So what I have is I actually found the little certificate when he was in the military, but I also found his ration stamps when he was in the military. Now, from what my dad tells me is that he had gone on the train to go to the war, but the war ended and he got off the train. That's what he told me, right? Unless my siblings told him something else. Then there is the picture of my dad or our father at Rainbow Market. If you all remember Rainbow Market, that's where he started. And then that's the jumbo ad, because I couldn't find a Rainbow Market ad in all the newspapers I was looking for. All right, next slide. Okay, so why we moved to Sacramento? Fortunately, it was me. Because my brothers and my sister sometimes drag on me on this because I had hay fever. When we lived on Sierra Drive, my next door neighbor was the Wilsons. And I used to call him Eddie Wilson because he lived right next door. And they had a little dog, Trixie. But Eddie would always take me across the street because in Sierra Drive in the late 50s and 60s was just a field. And somehow I'd gotten hay fever, which we didn't know what it was. But they took me to Sacramento, and my mom kind of convinced my dad that we should stay in Sacramento. But my dad loved Dixon, right? And so this is me when I went to first grade in Sacramento. So I actually went to school a little bit here in Dixon, and then went to Sacramento because of my hay fever, and then I stayed there because they didn't want to move back. But my dad loved Dixon. He did that drive every day. Next slide. Okay, so this is what I know about. He bought the store from George Pardi a long time ago, back in 1969, I think I wrote, somewhere around there. But then there was actually more than one owner, because I found this article in the Sacramento Bee. There were actually 3 owners. There was John Fong, Jerry Louie, and Calvin Lee, right? Somewhere along the line, I don't know if John had more shares or they were all equal shares. I don't know how that worked. That was way before me. And then somewhere along the line, Calvin retired. So then I didn't know who all worked that part. And this was the old Pardi Market ad. Now, when we worked at Pardi Market, if we became cashiers, like I was a cashier, we had to remember all the ads. Every sale ads every Tuesday. And that was hard because, when I'm a young kid, I started there about maybe 14, 15. I remember my dad used to basically pay me like $20, but then somehow he started writing me checks. And I entered the Social Security system because now I'm at that age. I went and looked it up. I got 1974 is when I started paying the Social Security. Could never figure out why. Because my wife, her parents, they own a restaurant, so they gave under table money. Later on, when I started working professionally, I figured out why. It's because he was paying our Social Security Medicare benefits so I can get the quarters in to collect the money. That's why. I didn't know this, right? So I also remember things, with Jerry and Calvin because they all rode in the same car coming from Sacramento. Now, the question everybody wants to know is, why did he change Pardi Market to Fong's Market, John's Market? As I got older and I started counting the tilt, at about 6 o'clock at night, my dad would always go in the back, you change your register tilts. he would go in there and count the money, and then he would just take a handful or a quarter, a dime. He'd just go like this and tell me how much. Then and he was pretty close, not 100% of the time, but pretty dang close. So I asked him, like, why didn't you ever change the name? The reason he didn't want to change the name because he was also an independent grocer. He wanted to have his own business. But back in those days, it was very hard, I guess, for Asian people to have their own grocery store. So George Pardi decided to sell the store to my dad. And what he told me was he wanted to honor the Pardi for giving him that opportunity to serve the people in Dixon. Now, as I grew up working there and learning all the different areas of the grocery store, he did tell me on some of the things when I sit back there, because, when you're sitting there back with your dad, there's nothing to do but count money and talk. So I would ask him, like, hey, what do you want to do with this thing, kind of thing? Because, I'm going to college and all that stuff. But he said, you got to remember one thing is that the customers are our family. Without you folks, there is no Pardi market, and we would have no food on our table. Because when we moved to Sacramento, we actually lived in my grandma's house, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, for a little bit. And then we bought a 2-bedroom house, 1 bath. And then the boys all slept on the floor, and while the girls had their own room, and the mom and dad had their own room, which is why I always tell my sister that we made it easier for you folks. And they said the oldest one always is the favorite. I go, well, we slept on the floor for you guys. But but we would do that drive. So he wanted to honor the people of Dixon because he loved Dixon. He worked at Rainbow Market. Now, why he started in Dixon, why he wanted to live in Dixon, he had a friend who worked at Rainbow Market. I don't know which one it was, but somehow he ended up coming to Dixon. He stayed in Dixon. And when I was born, all I know is that, when you're born in the old days, there is no incubator. There's no that stuff, right? They just hang you upside down, slap you in the face. If you cry, you're good, right? That's all I remember. And then, next slide. So what happens when I got here, I didn't know a lot of this stuff. So I continued to work in Dixon during high school and on the weekends until college in 1985, right? The other thing I came to work with my dad is that every morning around 6 o'clock, we would stop and get donuts that everybody loved, right? So in memory of that, my sister and my brother wanted to bring donuts, so they got donuts for you back there. The donuts, yeah. So my dad actually stopped at Marie Donuts to get those donuts, and he would come and bring them in and line them all up and then have donuts for the store. Now, my dad also did this. Eventually, because I started there, my brothers came. There's an older brother named Carmen. He's like 6'3". Then my younger brother, Carlton, worked there. And then my sisters, Helen and Arlene, came. They're mostly cashiers. Darlene never worked there, actually. She went to the bank. Never worked there. She never followed that tradition. Now, one thing that was interesting is that my brothers all had a specialty in their area. Carlton actually worked in the meat department. So if you went to the meat department back in those days, you would see Carlton there, sitting there with my dad, eating a donut or eating a hot dog or bologna that he had sliced, because that was Carlton. Carmen, on the other hand, worked with Jerry Louie, and most of the time he sat in the back doing the produce area. So I kind of did everything else he had taught me, right? The cashiering, the bagging, the sweeping, and all the inventory and all the other stuff. And stocking the shelves were usually Tuesday and Thursdays, that when inventory come in, we had an aisle, and then we just stock all the shelves. He taught me everything about fronting the shelves, making it look good and all that other stuff, which was interesting. Go ahead. Uncle Bing? I don't know what Uncle Bing did, actually. Okay. Because I'm sure they want to hear, because I don't know what you did either. So now what was interesting is that my dad kept the store open almost 365 days a year. For whatever reason, he only took Thursdays off too. Now we closed early on Thanksgiving Eve, Christmas Eve, and New Year's Eve at 3 o'clock, if I remember right. I'm getting old. Yeah. So, but we would come back the next day after, the Christmas Eve and open back store back up, right? Now, how we met the Nishikawas is they had the farm. June Nishikawa used to know my dad really well. We'd have farmland, the workers would come, and there'd be loads of basket of groceries they would buy, and we'd have to bag them and bring them up. And that's how we kind of knew the Nishikawas that well. There was a lot of friends and family that that my dad knew that I didn't know. And that was what he liked to do. Next slide. So my father loved the community. I did not know he had late textbooks that he had to bring back to the library. Whether he did that or not, I didn't know. I did not know he was a citizen of the year until later on when we told us we were dressing up to go to a parade. Those things, we don't know. We're little kids. We're like this, remember? So they don't tell us all this stuff. They're like, oh, you're going to get dressed up. We're going to parade. And we're thinking we're going to watch a parade, not being in a parade, right? So you'll see some old pictures. And these things that you see here, actually, we're going to donate that to the Historical Society. Those are the papers I had that my brother gave me. We kept forever. You'll see a crushed bottle that has Pepsi in it. And the cap actually says Pepsi by accident. And then there's a Bailey soda that my dad used to sell. So we have all that. And we have the cores, and we have, if you ever smoked back then, my dad had the Raleigh cigarettes. He would get those coupons. There's only one version of that thing left that I kept, so that's there. And then there's a book that my dad would do like IOUs of people. And we have that one there. And then there's the actual stamp, which is in the next slide. Oh, go next slide. I jumped ahead. You weren't catching up. Those things right there. I did not know that we had these food stamp things there. I don't remember that, but it was in the bag of stuff. This is the first Northern bank that my dad would used to go to get the change they would carry across the street. You have to remember, for those that have Dixon back then, for those like my family who have never lived in Dixon, it was a small family town. Everybody knew everybody. Literally, I could walk from Sierra Drive to Rainbow Market and go back at 8 o'clock at night. It'd be so safe, right? Because it's just everybody knew everybody. Everybody cared about everybody. That's how Dixon was when I remembered it. And now you got a Walmart on the end. I'm going, wow, Raising Cane, Starbucks, it's grown a lot. I don't know if my old house is still there or not on Sierra Drive. We'll have to go drive by and check it out. I know the school that I went to got changed. It is now a charter school or something like that. Montessori school. Yeah, so those things have changed. Next slide. Go ahead. Yeah, hold on. That right there is our family. That's my mom with the beehive hairdo. If you guys remember that, that's my youngest sister. My other younger sister. That's my brother Carlton, Carmen, Helen's in the back, and then that's me. That's the station wagon, and then we still have these plaques that are at my mom's house. That was given to my dad, or presented to my dad in 1972 and 73, I think it was. This is the last letter that my dad wrote to me on September 11th, 1997. And he passed away on December 18th, 1997. The ink is almost all faded back then. But we got most of it with the help of my son, Christian. We kind of figured out the last two lines. And basically it says, Dear Carl, encloses 2 red envelopes. So in Asian culture, we have those little red envelopes. If you get red envelopes, there's cash in it. So we're always happy for that. One for you, one for my brother Carmen for August Moon Festival cake that he would always give us that. And after that, he told me to call him up and come and get his red envelope. Now, and then as you know, he's shaking because the handwriting is shaking and we can't even read that. We had to figure out what it was. But that was the last letter that I have left of my father, that he actually wrote a letter because he used to write a lot. So go ahead. And so basically, that's all I had because I really didn't know what everybody expected of this. But what I like to do in presentation is it's interactive. If I come up here and do a lecture like I used to do in college, all right, it's kind of boring. So I like to have people ask questions and get interaction from the audience and those kind of things. So I want to thank everybody for honoring Father and Pardi Market. I still don't know who this little girl is because that was on the Facebook post. Everybody's trying to figure out who that little girl is, and I have no idea. You know? Oh, there you go.
She buys cigarettes for her mother.
Okay. For the record back there, I did not sell her those cigarettes. Yeah. Yeah. So, any questions? We have relatives here, cousins here, Uncle Bing's here. What do you need to know about that? Yeah, that's what he did. Go ahead.
Okay, hi everybody. My name's Bing Lee.
I started working there in 69 February before it's opened up. From then on, I do everything. I work in the produce department, meat department, grocery store. I do the cashiers. I sweep the floor. I do a parking lot. I repair the refrigerator if it's broken, something like that. I mean, everything. Sometimes I don't go until midnight because I stay with the refrigeration guy, you know, on the freezer. So I was the one that no one would appreciate it. Because I mean, I done everything in the market down there, you know. Like anyway, what it is, it was a surprised me. I came from Hong Kong '68. Hong Kong back then we had 3 million populations. When I came to Dixon, I look at that. What's this place right here? I mean, kidding? Less than 2,000 people at different times. No signal light anywhere. This is amazing for me. I said, no, I want to go back to Hong Kong. And no way. But anyway, culture, let you know. When your father went back to Hong Kong, you know, look for a wife.
It was mail order.
Yeah, but my sister was not the choice at all. No. See, he was looking for a couple of lady. They got a picture down there, you know, back there, you know, send pictures back down there. Through the, you know, one of the friends' mouth, you know, like that's just good pictures, you know, good girl, whatever. Anyway, so, but the father didn't like none of those. And one day, he saw my sister with one of your relatives, you know, older, you know, relative, and bam, that's it. He said, that's the one. That's the one. Yeah. And my sister back then was just barely turned 18. She didn't really want to marry right away.
Yeah.
She was young.
21.
Yeah, but she did. She did. That let you know. You know.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
That was not the first picture. My sister was never in the picture at all, period. But back then was like that. I really like it. I remember, you know, Dixon was such a nice time when I walked in the grocery store. I remember I delivered stuff to people's house, kitchen. The door's wide open. I put stuff in the refrigerator. That's amazing. I remember I go deliver the stuff to El Chao restaurant. Oh, yes. Dawson's, you know, I just go in there and put it down and I'm gone. That's it. And that's what people so trusted each other back then. Like the charge book we have down there. People, some customers say, oh, hey John, 2 pieces of bread. They walk out the store. That's it. Yeah. We trust each other. Say, okay, we put the right amount down there. We know he's gonna bring back. That was something that really amazed me back then when I first came to this small town of yours. I never expect to be like that from a big city with 3 million population. It was a big surprise for me. Yeah. And one more thing is really surprised me back then. We had a lot of high school kids walking in the store, you know, like on weekends. When they got fired in the field, right? Boom, all the kids gone. That's what happened. Oh, they are volunteer fire department. We didn't have a fire department. Only got the chief was got paid. That's about it. Yeah. And all the kids gone. It's amazing because we have a fire. I said, wow. It is really amazed me about this town, how it was back then. And when I, you know, driving in here, when I saw that, you know, Walmart on the side, I said, man, changed a lot. And all of a sudden, boom. When I passed the railroad track, I said, wow. Those old house still here. Some of those old buildings still here. Oh, that's good. And I saw the Fiction Tribune paper, the building, still there. Almost the same color. I said, wow. Good. At least something's not changed, you know, like that. That's really made my day a lot. But somehow when I try to find this place, I got lost. I have to ask people around how to get here, like that. And also, I'm really happy to see one of my first old co-worker down there. She was my first old co-worker back then.
I think I was about 15.
I don't know. I'm not going to go down there that far. Okay, yeah. So, but I still remember some of the people I used to work with, and some of them I just asked people if they still around here. So I'm really good at that. I'm still here. I got a long way to go. Even though I retired many years ago, but I still want to keep going down there.
Good.
How
long did you work at the store?
Long time.
Well, not that long.
How many years were you there?
74, 75, something like that. Yeah.
Like 15 years?
No, 70. I'm 69. Come on. Can you take your math out?
Oh, so that wasn't that long.
Yeah, but I was the beginning. For me, it's a big experience for me that I did not hardly speak any English. And walk in the store, no Chinese. Or half the people is American and half is migrant farm workers. So actually, the first couple of years, my Spanish was really, really good. So a lot of people thought I was Mexican. I mean, I can pass by, no problem. Yeah. In fact, my first girlfriend almost here too. You can see her family. Anyway, but I'm really glad I'm here. See some of you guys here. We appreciate it, support with the party fan, party market. And one thing though, back then, besides party market, Rainbow Market is also owned by Chinese too.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I was like, a small town, hardly any Chinese, how come they own a market? What happened? In a restaurant, came in there?
Yeah.
Well, nobody want to run a business. They all want to eat and buy stuff. And then I need the Nishikawa family.
Yeah. And what was funny is, in our family, our culture, I'm the oldest, right? So when I turned 21, my parents had that talk with me too. Time you get, you can only be a doctor, dentist, a lawyer,
Yes.
right? No computers, because that's my industry I'm in. Then you have to get married. And I'm going, well, I'm not into that yet. So I got a picture too. And they would pay for a trip for me to go meet whoever it was. And I said, well, you're going to pay, just send me to Hawaii. I'd rather go there. But they did that to me, and they did it to my brother, not Carlton, my second brother.
Well,
and he actually went.
You have to go.
Yes, he went.
You have to go to see the girl up there. I mean, true, I did the same thing. But I went back to Hong Kong a couple times. I found a girl that's pretty, but since I've been here living so long, I can't adapt to their feelings. So my wife ended up, I found her here. Unfortunately, I was good or bad. Been married for 30, I don't know, 40, long time.
But what's interesting is when my mom and dad were here, we had to speak one dialect, which is my dad's dialect. So in China, correct me if I'm wrong, Hong Kong, there's Mandarin, Cantonese, and then have all these different dialects from the different villages. So when, I didn't know that my mom was not the first one, but okay.
No. Your first one is the first one, but not the girl that your daddy went back to originally look for.
Because my mom is actually Cantonese, right? Elite?
No,
What is she?
Thai Chinese.
Oh, okay, that I didn't know either. But they speak different dialects,
Yes, you do.
and it's pretty close.
No, they're not close.
They're not?
Thai Chinese dialect and Cantonese dialect. It's like my mom, she speaks Thai Chinese dialect back in old villages. My wife, she's from Hong Kong, but she came here when she was really young. She have very, very difficult time to understand what my mom trying to tell her. Because the Thai Chinese and Cantonese dialect, they're different.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, so what is Toisan then?
Toisan is like Toisan right now.
Yeah, is that the farm language?
It's a little more limited farm language.
Okay, so as you know,
It's
we're,
less and less people.
we're
speak
down in
Thai
the village
Chinese.
planting the rice fields for
Yeah,
these guys.
that's
to
what
eat.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah, see?
The Cantonese is for the city, the big city language down there, like that. So down there. In China, they still have about over 100 different dialects that people uses. And just like the official language right now is Mandarin. I don't speak Mandarin, I speak Cantonese. They're totally different. I have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah, it's different. And when I went to school here, the only thing that I knew was Toisan. I didn't know no English at all. I literally almost flunked out of kindergarten because I didn't speak English. Because in our household, when you walk in that door, back then, you spoke Toisan or my dad's dialect. Yeah, Toisan. So what they did is my dad sat me in front of the TV, right, in the 50s, watching Bat Masterson, Wanted Dead or Alive, all those shows, right, and those 3 channels, just to learn English. So my English is my second language, actually. It's not my primary language. I started to speak Toisan to my mom because she speaks very little English, right? So all of us, in the siblings, all had to speak are supposed to speak and understand Toisan still. Now, my wife is Cantonese, so when I speak to her family, I got to be careful what I say because I don't want to, during that courting time, I got to do the traditions. When I was growing up, I had to go to all those Chinese operas that you see on TV with my grandma because I was the oldest one. I also had to go to all those events that my dad went to, those associated, whatever it was at the table. And as the youngest, if I wanted a glass of tea or something, I would have to serve and fill all the other cups up before I get mine, right? Because that's what I had to do. Yeah. Yeah. That's why I keep telling my sister, we did all this work to make it easy for you guys. Because there's always that family sibling issue, right? Now, the other thing that's interesting, too, is in our culture, the male son, the oldest, has all these things back in the village that I didn't know about either, that you told me that there's a book with my name on it. I have no clue what that is, but it's like a record of being the first son of a son, right?
What it is in a Chinese tradition, old Chinese tradition around there, when you live in the villages, we have a record of all the firstborn male in the book. So every time, even when my son was born here, I had to send his name and some money to the village, put his name on the book, and have a festival for all the people in the village to celebrate his number one son or me. So we have to have the record that who he, father and grandfather, so we can backtrack on the generation up like that. See what happened? That's it. And not just one. I just talked to some of my friends there from Germany. They can backtrack somehow back then by the last name or whatever. They can do that. We're just like what's your name? I love to sing Chinese opera.
I have no idea what they sing.
And I sing Chinese opera a little bit. I do karaoke and I do ballroom dancing too.
I don't do any of that.
That's what
Yeah, I don't do any of that stuff.
I stopped doing that when I was about 40-something. I don't know what's wrong with you guys.
Yeah, I know that our parents, my dad especially, we didn't play any sports when we were growing up in high school, and I didn't do any of that stuff. We were always competitive academically. We would get paid a certain dollar amount for every letter grade that we got. All right, if it was an A, you get I forgot what the dollar value was. Oh, what was it?
That much?
Okay, so I must have got more.
You would have got less.
But we all had our careers, and to this day, my mom does not know what every one of us do. We all had different careers in our professions, but then, it was different back then. My children, they can do whatever they want. I have no, say do this, do that. We're all individuals, right? We're all humans. They do what makes them happy. For us, it was like, you know what, doctor, dentist, or lawyer, what is this computer thing, right? And not knowing where I would end up in my current profession now. My sister and my brother back there, they're retired from their careers. Unfortunately, I'm doing something wrong because I'm still working. Any questions? I know yeah.
So when I worked with your Uncle Bing, there was another gentleman who was, I thought, quite elegant. Remember, I was 15, 16 years old. He was it seemed that his job, this was Walter.
Walter? Yes.
Walt was the one who prepared all the wonderful food in the back, and if you were one of the non-Chinese workers and you were allowed to have some of that food, that was pretty special. The other thing is that he made the wonderful signs.
Yes.
Sweet. And I was amazed because this was before we knew about fonts and calligraphy. And you'll remember those beautiful signs that were on the outside the store, and that was all Walt's job. But what about him? Because I remember he was very handsome and very elegant.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to Walt personally. The other thing that you may not,
Relative?
I don't know if he was a relative. Bing.
No, he was not, but he was a good friend of Jerry Lewis.
Wow. Walter?
Yeah. But he's not the lead like you know him?
Yeah, I remember Walter. He made all the signs.
Yeah.
The letters and the sales signs in red.
Yeah.
He had a way of doing that paintbrush.
In fact, he was such a good cook when we had big celebration Chinese New Year.
Yeah.
He would cook a lot of stuff down there. And John would invite a lot of the good customers coming to enjoy the festival food down there inside the warehouse down there. So he was such a good cook that you wouldn't believe it.
Simple question. What year did you
I think it was in 1990, something like that. It got resold, I think. I'm not 100% sure. I know that this is something that I found out that I didn't know. But my mom and Jerry's wife actually owned the land underneath Pardi Market and the Shell station. Now, how I found that out was my mom got a letter from the city of Dixon saying that the weeds and everything was growing up. They needed to do something with it. So what she eventually just decided to do was to sell the land back to the city, which is what it is right now. But I had no idea that they actually owned the land. The wives actually owned the land. Yeah, you know that? Your sister owned it? I didn't know either. Yeah.
Well, in fact, when the land over there by the Shell gas station was going to rent and sell, the owner retired. A lot of people want to buy it, but only say he would only sell to your mom. My sister.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
That was amazing because I said, wow, what happened?
Yeah, I don't know. That was news. And then at one time there was a Esparto Market.
Yeah. Yes.
Remember that? I don't know how that came about too.
John later on opened the Esparto Market over in Esparto and for about a year. But the problem is he cannot hire a good manager to manage the store over there. So after 1 year, the book shows we made a lot of money, but it's not there. So he kind of shut it down. In fact, I went back to Esparto a couple years ago. Look, the market building is still there. Yeah, it's amazing.
He would have been a manager there. He should have took the job.
I came from the old country, from the old days, but I don't want to work. I'll tell you, Father, okay? He was working almost 6 days a week.
That's right.
And then on his day off, I remember it's Thursday.
Yep.
You know what he did on Thursday?
I-
Most of the time? He'll go round up a different kind of item groceries from different places to go back, bring back to the store and sell. So actually, he's working on his day off.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
I know we would go to San Francisco a
He
lot.
grabbed me a lot. San Francisco bought Chinese stuff down to do it, and I knew down there, yeah.
That's all I do.
Actually, working 7 days a week down there, almost on the, oh yeah, that's that
I
thing.
remember when there was like a bread strike, and we had to go around and get
Yes.
bread from all the different grocery stores in Sacramento
Yes.
and bring it to his store.
And so buy it and sell it. It was, I don't know how many remember that day, you know. I mean, I never buy so many bread in my life, you know, yeah. And we just resell it in our store for a regular price. And it's good, like that. But
Yeah.
it's not bad though.
Yeah, I know that I had that, sitting in the back, counting dad money with the money. He asked me if I wanted to take over the store, and I was going to college. And I go, maybe my brothers would want it, but you're sending me to college for what? I don't know. But, I said, no, I don't think so.
That's what it is. Later on, I work in for the Department of Air Force. And then John, I cannot work for you. I work for the government better, 8 hours a day, like that, work for you. I mean, sometimes when the refrigeration broke, I can stay over with the guy, fix it. The tire, we had to stay home, stay after work, fix it. It's more than closing time, you don't go home.
Oh, yeah.
You stay there. And we always come in, show up early, open the store.
Yep.
So I said, I might be from the old country, but nah. So after my little bit education, not as much as you do, I found a job with the government and I really love it.
History, we talk about history, right? History repeats itself. I'm finding that as I think about, as I got older, I'm actually doing the exact same thing my dad does. I get up at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, drive 2 hours to work, and then I leave around 7, 8 at night just to avoid traffic in LA, 2 hours going back home. So I go like, I'm doing the exact same thing my dad did. It's weird. Yeah, question?
So can you tell us each of your careers and of all 6 of you?
I got 3. Okay, I know I'll start. I started work for the Department of Education. How many are educators? Thank you. I work for the Department of Education in Orange County at the County Office of Education. I started there as a programmer 1, writing their code for their payroll system. In 1987, I was the youngest operations manager for their whole mainframe. And from there, I moved all the way up. My current position is the Chief Technology Officer for the County of Orange in Orange County Department of Education. So I run all the technology back there. I have 5 departments, 2 directors, I have our county payroll is in the it's in the billions sometimes. We pay about last year's W-2 is about 99,000 people. So I have to maintain all their identities, make sure they all pay. We run payroll 4 times a month. We do W-2 starting in December, and then all that stuff. So I gotta make sure all that stuff runs. The other thing too is I report pretty much to the county superintendent now. As far as education, I have a doctorate in business, emphasis in technology, and a master's in business. Now, my sister Helen,
Wait, tell them how many years you've been there.
I've been with the County Office of Education since 1985, which is why that,
Something years.
yeah. So, and I've been in those educators, if you work in a school district, at a district office, you have cabinet, correct? I'm in cabinet since 2002 is how long I've been there. I will probably retire from the County Office of Education. I do have a lot of colleagues that ask me questions that went to private sector that I can make way more money and all this other stuff. I go, it's not about the money for me. It's about serving, because we serve students at the county office. We have our own students in our own programs. But for me, it's setting that record that nobody's going to touch in education on the tech side. It's like playing a video game. I just want to have that name up there that, wow, that guy's been here forever, kind of thing. Now, my sister, Helen, worked for HP, and huh?
She thought it was me, but.
So it's the other, my other sister, Helen. She's number 2. She worked for HP, and she retired from HP during the big boom in Rockland or Roseville when they moved the plant there. She lives now in Granite Bay with her husband. Carmen works in Paris, the city of Paris, and works for Amazon, but he's in operations support something too. Carlton, you can tell him what you do now besides playing in the sand and because he's a UC Aggie person.
Yeah, I graduated from UC Davis, but I remember when I first got accepted, I refused to go there. I told my mom and dad, oh, I rejected the offer to Davis, and they got very upset at me, so I had to call them back and then accept the offer to go to school. I graduated with a BS degree in food science. I really didn't know what I wanted to study, but I figured food must be something that everybody consumes, and it's a good idea. So I graduated from Davis, had various jobs in the food industry, and ended up my career working at the Army Corps of Engineers, being a chemist, and then nowadays I just clean house and clean house.
You want to tell what Cindy does? Don't forget your spouse.
She's a pharmacy director for Bel Air, Rayleigh's, and Outfield. Probably gives you more information.
And then after Carlton was my sister Arlene, who still works for the state of California as a technology information specialist too, I believe. So she's still working there. Then my youngest sister, she'll tell you what she did.
So unlike my siblings who stay at a job for, I don't know, 15, 20 years, I wasn't like that at all. After I graduated college, I had to go sit the CPA exam, got my CPA license, and I worked at Ernst & Young for about 5 years. Then after Ernst & Young, I went to Sun Microsystems for about 10 years. Then I moved again, went to a small software company for a couple years. That software company got eaten up by, or bought out by Oracle. I was at Oracle for about 4 years. Then I got recruited to go to Google. So I went to Google for a few years, and then I got recruited to go to Tesla. So I went to Tesla for about 4 years. Then I said, you know what, it's just getting older now, so I decided to go back to Google and retired last year after another 3 years of Google. So I'm retired now, but still not at retirement age. Obviously, he's still working. Enjoying retirement life for the past year. Yeah.
Is there any other questions? Yeah.
I'm curious, you're the sister of John Fong, is this?
As, Jeannie's mom is the older sister of my dad.
No, the youngest.
My mother, who's actually of the family, she's 97, so she's a matriarch. So she's the only one still alive, so I am.
Actually, she's only a year older than my dad.
Yes, but, so she kind of outlived everybody.
Yep.
Yeah, long story short, the other day, we actually paid homage to all our relatives at East Lawn. And we were calculating everybody's age when they passed. And it was like, there was a consistency of somewhere between the 70s and 80s siblings.
Cousins.
Cousins, yeah.
And then we have Raymond, who came from Seattle, and then because I don't talk to Raymond that much.
Well, after high school, then I went to the Navy, and I became a heating engineer, and then I eventually moved up to Seattle. And I've been with company Seattle, heating through district heating for heating downtown Seattle for 30-some years. And then I'm retired now.
But, you know, before Seattle, his family lived in Montana.
Montana.
That's the Montana family.
Yeah. And so, when Kim asked me to do the presentation, I texted my sisters and my sibling, and my brothers as well. But my sister goes, "What are you wearing?" I go, "I wear what I want to wear to work." And this is what my daily routine to wear to work is. In Orange County, if you're familiar with Disneyland, they have, it's not the orange curtain, but there is a persona when you represent the public, because we're educating kids. And these kids, these students that we have are the incarcerated kids. They're at-risk kids. They're special ed students. And what we want to do is show them a different path, right? Not, the same thing that we do. Because the kids today, they are the next generation of Dixon. Those students here, that's the next generation. Even though I work in the technology field and it changes so rapidly, that is their world that we live in. And we have, as a technologist, we have to adapt, right? Certain things that we like to do is just because the way we're brought up, just like the way my family was brought up. But the kids today are different. They have social media, right? They have AI that's coming. You look at the auto industry with EV, the medical industry. Those are the industries that those kids today have to start working and learning the different values of those things, right? Because in our generation is that we were taught to work hard, work long hours. And certainly my dad did that. He also did that to me because I'm doing the exact same thing. But he also told me that everybody is the same. You treat them with respect. We are all one family, right? And like my dad said, every time we would have something to eat at home, it's because of you folks that came to Pardi Market. It wasn't because he said, "You know what, I own the store. Let's take 1.5 inches of steak and let's take it home and eat it." Sometimes we would get that as a treat. But most of the things he did was basically for Dixon and the community, because that's where he lived. I mean, why would you drive 20 minutes from Sacramento to work in Dixon and live in Dixon? I spent a lot of time with my dad in the back having conversations, store name, those kinds of things. I never did find out who owned the percentage. If my dad just had the bigger percentage and the other two just want to be silent, I have no idea on that part, so I couldn't answer those questions. Other than that, I'm honored to present to you a glimpse of the past of Pardi Market and have the Pardi family or Stacy family here, because they're the ones that gave my dad, George Pardi, the opportunity to do what he needed to do or what he wanted to do when he wanted to run his own grocery store. He was called IGA, Independent Grocers Association. There was no union back then, if I remember right. Everything was, like Uncle Bing said, hey, John, I need 2 loaves. He would know. There was that slide with the handwritten IOU kind of thing with it. You don't see that today anymore, right? No, he just knew. He would just, and
once a month we gotta send a bill. We trust each other. That's why they trust me to go into their house, put the stuff down, and gone. Don't
Yeah.
open. I mean, nowadays, I don't know.
it's different now. I mean, back then there was like no shoplifting and people just like, hey, I'm gonna take this. My dad would kind of know. And when he taught me how to bag groceries, there was a certain way you had to bag groceries back then, right? And then also we had the old registers, right? That we had to learn and had to be quick on those things. There was that dreaded buzzard that my sister would always ring because, there's nobody to bag groceries or take them out. And then when it rained, we still had to take the groceries out, whether it rained or not, and we had to go get the carts. That's the way he taught, at least for us, when we were growing up in Dixon, kind of thing, right?
Probably the town was so small that, like, even if a kid did take a candy bar, he'd probably go, he knew who the dad was.
Yeah. It was interesting back then because, like Uncle Bing said, I could walk from Sierra Drive to Rainbow Market because it was so close and nobody would bother me. The only reason I went to that is because I knew my dad would give me candy. And also, if you remember the holidays, Santa was there at Rainbow Market. I don't know if you guys remember, but I remember that. You know, and the Easter egg hunt was always there too. So I would go there just for those things. Right? Question?
What do you think about the plaza that they put up in that space?
I kind of like the idea of a plaza because it shows homage to what was there, right? Because if you look in that little corner, Dixon Florist is the only thing left, I think, right? El Charro is gone. Kim and Ed's, I don't know if it's still there. Yeah. Well, I drove by and saw First Northern Bank. He used to carry that bag of change every day. The Dixon Tribune used to be right across the street. And the Dixon Police Department used to be in the alley behind. Right? I mean, those things I remember because I used to, go with him to some of these places. But my dad would, I guess my dad was proud of me because he would say, oh, this is my oldest son. Right? And when you're a high school kid, you don't want that, like I do my kid, right? You don't, like, he's single, so if you have any single, that kind of thing, right? That's what my dad did to us, right? Yeah. But that's what my dad did to me. It's like, this is my oldest son. And I actually met my first, the kindergarten teacher. And he told me that she had went on medication because I had kicked her so hard in the leg that she had to take medication. And I don't remember her name, but she came in one day and then he calls me up and, and he embarrassed me. He's like, remember her? I go, no, she's the kindergarten teacher that you kicked so hard that she's now on medication. I don't remember. I was shocked that I even found some of the stuff of the pictures that we had because we don't take a lot of pictures back then. It's not like today, right? And it wasn't color because color didn't come out in the 60s, late 60s sometime, right? And there were only 3 channels. And there was no remote control. The only remote control we had was, Carl, go change the channel for me. Right? That was it. Like, go change that channel, right? That's how it was back then, right? Yeah, question?
Yeah, she was talking about the Pardi Plaza. That corner has a rich history, which we haven't dwelled on, but where Pardi Market is today, that was actually Mitchell's grocery store. Like in the 1900s, like 1910 to 1920 or so, it was Mitchell's. Then Caesar Pardi came from Vacaville, and he ran it for quite a few years, and he gave it to his son, George. George had another brother, Walter, who never was involved in anything. He was more of a truck driver and worked for a meat company. But anyway, George had it, and actually, George has a grandson or great-grandson, John Pardi, a very famous country singer today. But that is another story. But that was Pardi's Market, was bought, and then your father, I guess he bought it from them. But before it was even Mitchell's grocery store there, that building, Mitchell, I think his name was Chester Mitchell, or I can't remember. But anyway, he had that, and then next to that, they had the City Hotel, and next to that, they had the Capitol Hotel, where the Shell gas station was.
Oh, wow.
And see, everything kind of changes over the years. So the big Shell was put in, which Ty Thompson's.
Yes.
And then that put it right up to the so-called Pardi Market, right there.
Yep.
Which was before the Mitchell store.
Yeah.
So that's a little history on that.
That's interesting because I didn't know all that. And then right after that was Dixon Florist. I don't know where that came in.
What was?
Dixon Florist.
Oh, Florist.
Yeah, that's still there by the Williams, I think it
Florist
is.
actually was more or less in the parking lot. It ended up being for the parking lot of the Pardi Market.
Oh, wow.
It takes up the parking lot.
Really? Oh, so I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was working for store too.
Yeah, he worked for a store too. Now, see, the question about the plaza, I think that's very important to keep the history of all that alive, right? Because this is your generation, my generation, it's for them to understand what Dixon is about, right? Because as Dixon starts to grow, and it's grown a lot, right, a lot of people forget. The city will change. You have, like I said, you have these big supermarkets coming in. But downtown Dixon is where I kind of grew up in what I remember when I was little. So I remember the Shell station, I remember El Charles, Kim and Ned's, the bank, all that stuff. that's still here in my head, right, until I forget or I get too old. But that's the history of Dixon in my mind, and I think it's important to keep that going. That's just me, right? I hope a lot of people feel that way, because history is what this country is built about, right? We just have to remember and keep it going, because it's going to change, right? I didn't know if any other questions?
Sherry had to leave early, but she said that her grandmother used to work at Pardi Market, and her name was Ola Lee Alvis, or possibly last name Paul, if that rings a bell. Ola Lee Alvis, or it could be Ola Lee Paul.
I don't remember them. Maybe Uncle B? I remember.
No, Jeannie Jensen worked.
I remember
at
her.
Al.
Jeannie and Art.
Yes.
Al, yep.
Sure, then with your dad here, but, yeah, Jeannie was a staple
Yep.
there.
Yeah, and there was a lot of people. There was Carrie Larson,
Yes.
Jeff Roberts, the Roberts family, their kids all work there. A lot of people that I need to thank personally, because they're the ones who helped my dad, that served everybody in the community. So, if there's anything else, I turn it back over to Kim.
Any other memories that you'd like to share? Anyone special?
Question for Nick, are you leaving?
Yeah, we have another
Is
comment.
George your grandpa?
No, Walter was my,
Oh, okay.
my mom was Nancy,
Right,
and
Nancy Pardi.
my Aunt Joan, she's still with us. Yeah, Grandpa and Uncle George, they didn't see eye to eye, so Uncle George is the one who took the store over. Grandpa drove for Mace. Okay, my dad drove for Stoven, but that's all there was here in town, you know? We're just getting money. And my great-grandma, Pardi, Dirk Gooden lives in the house, right over there, off of Jackson Street, under Frosty. And, yeah, so Scotty's living where my grandma Pardi lives. I'm the executor of the house and everything, and that's right around the corner from where I grew up, off of First Street, off of Chestnut.
Would you like to come up and just say a few words in the microphone so we can get you?
You wanted to say something?
Well, I got one other comment. The girl there in that picture buying the cigarettes, that's Debbie Conley, but this was a practice. She lived a block away. She lived on 3rd and A, and the Pardi Market was on 2nd and A. So that was a thing that the mothers and fathers gave the daughter, not the sons, the money to buy cigarettes. And same thing happened with a girl in my class, Betty Teamy. She went to the market on,
Oh, yeah,
no,
the little one.
on Marvin Way. People's Market. Betty Teeny lived about a half a block away from People's Market, and her mom and dad, rather than them going, would give her the money to buy the cigarettes. So it was quite a practice back then.
I used to do it when I was getting into the I would write the little sign, or the message, please sell my daughter Paul Malls. And I'd go over there and you guys would tell me some Paul Malls. I was 10 years old.
One of the good stories that I have growing up was we used to go fishing, ride our bikes, and go catch any kind of fish we could catch. And we'd take it to the store and go in and see John. And he would always, we loved the hot dogs. They had the best hot dogs. And I remember riding my bike. We wouldn't go to the store for a week at a time. You'd go daily, and my mom would say, all right, get on your bikes, go to the store. What do you guys want to eat for dinner? And usually hot dogs, so we loved them, you know. And John, they always had the snap one, you know, the skin. And so we'd ride our bikes down and get our meat every day. Well, as I got older and I was able to drive, we would go and I said, oh, you know what? I really don't want to eat sturgeon. We caught a big sturgeon. And so my brother and we took it to the store, and we already cleaned it up and everything and gutted it and took the head and put it in a bag and everything and put it in a garbage can, all tied up and everything. So I get to the store and I go around the back and I go, John, I don't know if you like this, but we caught a sturgeon. Sturgeon! Oh, yeah, bring it in. It was a big fish, you know, after we got it. And he's looking around and goes, where's the head? I go, what? He goes, where's the head? I go, you don't want to eat that. You go get the head or you're not getting any steaks. Okay, so I went back and got it. And I think it was either Jerry or Calvin. They always had a pot in the back for cooking. Always. And so he goes, come on. And I go, what are you going to do? He takes that head and takes it out of the bag. It was clean. It was just in another separate bag. He takes that. It was about that big. Throws it right in the pot. I'm like, oh. No, the best part, he's dug out and took the eye. He goes, oh, Don, that was it, you know. But yeah, so I said, okay. He said, anytime you go get fish, always bring the head. Okay. But yeah, so we would, you know, our thing was, I wanted a steak, you know. He didn't care what kind of steak. If you wanted a T-bone, he would give it to you. Go, you sure it's okay? Take it, you know. Yeah. So.
We had steak every day with our
Yeah.
But the head thing is
Yeah.
big and Chinese. They love it. My mom loves it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that was one of the good stories. And then there's a picture of the gas station and the store next to each other. Well, there used to be a Coke machine, you know, had the big bottles in it. Yeah, I'll show you. Yeah, it's one of the. Okay. Right there. Well, if you ever saw the movie Sandlot, okay, well that was my life. It was God, what was her name? Well, Linda Axelson, she was younger, but there was Lynn Dutra was a lifeguard that we all would go down, and she was you know, as the boys of the, you know, of the block, we did Sandlot. We played wiffle ball in our front yard, or we'd go to my grandparents, Grandma Pardi, around the corner, and play wiffle ball or football, because she had a big lot. Well, my grandpa Walt was a horseshoe champion. They made their lot into a tennis court, and he was a tennis champion. This is George's brother, my grandpa. And so we would, we all the guys in the neighborhood, our neighbor, if the ball went over the fence, she had a koi pond. And so that was her thing. Well, we couldn't go in there and get the ball. She would get mad. She'd look out the window, and we're like, okay. We'd be like, okay, watching her, go around, go by the tree, sneak down, you get, you know, because she'd be watching us through the window, so she wasn't paying attention. Well, over years and years, we had a lot of balls taken, so we'd go gather up Coke bottles, go to the store, go to the 5 and dime, get a new wiffle ball, come back and play some more. And then we'd lose that ball, go over the fence. So that was our routine. Wow, this little soda machine, I don't know who passed it on to us or whatever, but we were able to go up to it just like old Fonzie and go, bam. It worked. It worked. Well, poor Ty, I'm sure he figured, he checked that thing and there's no money in there, but all the drinks were gone, you know. But that was our little secret in our town, but.
I remember that because someone told me that. It does work. You bang on and
it would just drop out.
You know, I could just get them free at the store.
Yeah. And also on the ice cream,
the ice cream.
you know, you had to go because the floor was kind of leaning, and so we'd get in there and get that, and it was always broken, you know. So your mechanic skills weren't. But yeah, it's great. And I had the sign for the Pardi Market sign for a long time, and well, I gave it to Jill Orr, and so I don't know. I think
Jill probably still got it.
huh?
Jill hides everything.
Yeah, because I asked her. I said, "You still have that sign?" Well, you know, because I'd love to put it at the plaza and get it redone, and that would be a nice. So, but anyway, that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Let's get a quick, I'll close. So we will adjourn here because the Stacys have to leave, and I'd like to get a group picture for the newspapers. But it's really an honor to have both of you here speaking, and what a tribute to John Fong. And, you know, his huge heart made a huge impact on this community, and everybody has some memory of him, whether it's getting a hot dog or a donut or a stick of gum or something. And I have memories shopping at Pardi Market with my mom, and so many of those memories have lasted that this community wanted the plaza to be called Pardi Plaza. And they thought about Pardi Market Plaza, and they said Pardi Plaza is shorter and sweeter, so we'll do that. But it's really in honor of the market and all the families who owned the market, from the Pardi family to the Fong family and all the other families. And what's very nice is that John Fong, your father, is going to be one of 50 historical pictures at the Pardi Plaza. We have his picture, and so we're very excited about that. And the beginning of 2024, the pictures should be there at Pardi Plaza. So
I just want to
thank
say
you.
thank you to everybody personally from my family. Without you folks, there'd be no Pardi Market, and to the Stacy family, without your grandpa, there would be my dad wouldn't be here. It is an honor, because what that has taught us has allowed myself and my siblings to get to our careers where we are today. So I want to say appreciate that to all of you folks.
Now we have 30 minutes where you're welcome to have refreshments, and there's water and juice, and you can continue to share your memories. We have pictures and memorability for you to see, so feel free to walk around and share more memories. And thank you for being here.